So here we're at the sort of second segment of what our discussion is bringing us into, which is really the advertising meaty part. So would everyone agree that something has fundamentally shifted in advertising in the last decade or so, or less? Yes, no, hands up?
Yes.
Yes.
Shifted.
Big time.
For the better?
No. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
I think people are thinking in quarters only now. They're not thinking long-term in brand.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's actually where this whole relationship thing comes with, nowadays clients are not fixing on agencies. That is not a relationship.
Yeah.
As a result of which agencies are not sticking to people, their own people. That is not a relationship. And then people are not sticking to directors, and that's not a relationship.
So it was also a reflection of life in some way.
You know what I mean? So then earlier, the same client who you could go back to saying that, I know I decided this, but now I'm deciding this. You can't say that because now you don't know the creative doesn't know the client, and the client doesn't know where his next film is coming from. So it's all everybody has their claws out.
It's bound to take a toll on what they put out finally.
Yeah.
Also,
Yes.
Sneha, I think it's also the fact that people have forgotten to build brands. I just feel everything's so
They've
temporary.
forgotten to build brands.
It's campaign to
So
campaign.
nobody wants to look at the longevity.
Big time it's changed.
Also, I feel like we are like, we don't say stories anymore. We are like announcements. Everything is
Infomercials
about...
just made really, really expensively. Sometimes not even expensively. I think that's where it's become. I was a writer as well. I always wanted to be a director, but I've seen how much of a struggle it is for a creative director to get their job through. More often than not, they're just happy that a film is getting made by the number of people that are involved in the process. So they don't care, they can't care about the project because they've already moved on to the next problem that they're solving. And that's where it's at. And I think in my 7-8 year long career, I've seen it shift now slightly towards the better.
Okay.
I think there's an uptick in some
There's
sense,
some kind of a evolving...
but it's nowhere near what
It
the
used to
work
be.
we grew up on. And the kind of work that was memorable. You still work with nostalgia, we forget ads. Now we only watch them for references. We don't talk about anything. We are skippable as a creator, right? So
this clients are seeing us as less partner, more vendor, more supplier kind of.
vendor is the word.
There's a lot more, I think a big shift is there's a lot more underconfidence from an agency side because like she's saying, like, they keep shifting projects, so you're constantly on the edge. So you're not, that if you don't kiss his ass, it's going to probably go, So that kind of, I think it does affect creativity because you're willing to bend over backwards. Which director, we don't have that problem. Agencies,
A lot of
unfortunately.
insecurities, yes.
Which was not there 10 years ago, People had respect for...
When an agency comes to you with a script, they already come to you with so much baggage.
Yeah, disclaimers.
And then as a director, when you look at the script, you're like, but this should be like this. They're like, oh, don't tell us. We changed, this was our first edition of it. Then you say, okay, something else. Yes, we put that in the second version of the script. Oh, we put it in the third version. And they don't want this, they don't think this works, this is not nice. And then you get this really diluted
You see that in
client version.
Many brands, because building brand actually takes time.
Right.
A little bit of time. And you see that with many
So
brands.
it's impatience that's causing this, you think? Prasoon, do you think there's more to the problem?
No, I think also it reflects in the way those executives and clients, their own careers grow, okay? And like she said, that marriage is a short marriage. Even that brand manager, while he's with you, he's also, searching around where he can go. So everything is percolating and downwards. People are thinking only in terms of quarters. This commercial needs to deliver only so much money at the end of the quarter. Okay.
Yeah, so whatever is just stories, end mein bolo free hai, 10% off, 20% off.
They would say that, but you don't understand the pressures of the business today and how everything is functioning. So everything is really about, putting stuff out, you have to be seen, people forget you in no time, no matter how great and creative your ad may be. Ideally, if we go back to a time that, when you did films in your early days, there was a lot of trust. Do you think there's a trust deficit primarily?
There is a trust deficit, and I don't believe that the landscape has changed. I think the players have changed, that you have a lot of people coming with a slightly different understanding of how they think it'll work. Because right now, you still have some clients who build brands, okay, and who run slightly longer commercials. They believe that I need to communicate well rather than communicate more often. Okay. Why build a brand? Because you want to endear yourself to the masses so that you can command the premium, you know.
Right.
And that part they're forgetting. They're looking at, you know, somehow I need to show at the end of the quarter that, you know, you did better business.
So it's basically also coming from a place of fear, right? Like, how do I save my ass? I have people to answer to.
Risk
I have
management, that's
It's
just
fear-based, it's fear-based advertising.
fear.
Very-
And that percolates down to what we put out then in some way?
It does.
It does.
It does because it affects us.
Yeah.
If people are not thinking brand, then that's what they're writing. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And then you can push it only that much.
So can we safely say, therefore, the work that comes out by and large is mediocre as a result of that?
I would think, but except that I saw the work
This
just
was so
now.
beautiful to
that,
watch.
That was so good that it, you know, I was inclined to change my opinion.
So, I mean, largely then you're saying that we've become problem-solving machinery. Like, they have all these issues that they want to tackle through their film, and you're basically tick boxing, whatever sort of reflects from their fear-based data or whatever that they are relying on to tell us that therefore this ad must, you know, do X, Y, Z, and the creativity can sort of be the last part of it. But if you get that, then we're lucky.
See, what's happening is now it's almost two types of advertising. You have the long form advertising, which is all your days, because all brands want to be attached to those things. Earlier in advertising, our regular advertising, like 30 seconds, 45 seconds on screen, on TV, were really good ads. You still have really good ads, but that's all digital. That's long form ads, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Your regular ads, you will have a brand running two different things. You may have something very evocative, beautiful in your long form, but what's happening on TV is this fear-based
chopped up
advertising.
versions
So
of-
it's unfortunate, but only those special ads shouldn't be beautiful. Advertising should be beautiful, you know, as a whole. So the mass of it is dropping, and that's sad to see.
I think mediocre is a very strong word to say what everybody is doing. I think mediocrity is what people are being pushed into. And I think that is the problem. Nobody wants to put out a bad piece of work. I don't think any director wants to put out a bad piece of work. However, agencies have started settling for not good work. I think that's where the challenge is. Communicating, how often can you tell somebody, like, at least in my case, I have to agree at the end of the day to what the client wants, what the agency wants. I believe that we should all register our protest in the best way possible. They should know I disagree with this, but I am still doing it. What happens very many times is that there's no sense of somebody telling a person who's paying that they disagree with it. It's all about agreeing with more things. And then you just are a person who's gonna think exactly like the client. Then you're not needed, because the client then sits there in the room and believes they can do music, they can do editing, they can do everything.
Right. So that honesty, you think, won't be appreciated at all?
I don't know if it is. Y'all are icons. You should tell us how to sort of process that, bring that into our process, because sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it isn't. But I don't know personally if anybody likes to be told that your idea is actually not good. Here's a better idea. And that idea could come from anybody. That idea doesn't necessarily need to come from a director. It can come from anybody at any level.
How do you manage that, Ayappa?
I think in clients, in India at least, like I'm saying, right from our offline, like abroad, everyone has to write a treatment note. Here we don't. In most countries, when I shoot outside, you don't even get to see the offline. You know, the agency cuts it. So I think here directors are in a very strong position to actually make some kind of change. Like you were saying that the agency has they'll come with you with a lot of issues. And you make a recommendation and they say that we've gone to the client, but they're not changing it. The same point you bring it up from a director, they end up listening to you, you know. For some reason, they kind of listen to directors, you know. So I feel we have to kind of help them out, you know,
And
instead of sitting and, you know, like we have to help them out. And finally, you have to do what you want to do. Like you said, by some way or the
By hook or
other.
by crook, you got to do it.
Yeah, and you have to use your alphaness or whatever. Like you have to use it to get what you want, you know.
Because
Or
everything,
change, you know.
once you win the battle for the client, eventually when you win it for yourself, you are winning the battle for the client. Once you win the battle, everything will be absolved. You know, when you cheated, everything will be forgotten. People say, yeah, good guy. Okay. So have the confidence to express. But, you know, there is one part that you dealt with. My suggestion to you would be do that, but accept word it differently, because we've all been writers.
That is very, very important.
So
Tactful,
we've all been writers. So you don't want to hear that this idea is terrible. How about this idea? Okay. Since I've been there, I'm careful, and when I'm suggesting a change, I said, so if I hear you correctly, you said this, and I've changed it completely. Okay?
Potentially.
Yeah,
it could go.
basically show them the potential of the script.
Yeah.
This is what's written
So-
and this is what it could be.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, just to add, is I find that sometimes the clients, till you meet them in the PPM, some of them actually turn out to be very intelligent humans, okay? I feel that people in the chain are the ones who don't
Confuse
tend to
it.
have the focus, and that boils down to the agency as well. You know?
Yeah.
And that's
That happens.
So that brings me to my next question, which is, you have entrepreneur-led businesses and you have large conglomerates, and their ways of functioning are very different because the buck stops with, the head of someone who owns a business. Or has that sort of dictated how you work? Like, for example, if you were to, meet the end guy who's created a product, for example, is his approach to you or the way he treats you, would that be different as opposed to a large group of CCOs, CEOs, whatever?
Of course, like even if you really look at last 6-7 years of, all the startups, big names, initially you actually deal with them directly. And I have experience with many, many brands. And then slowly after 3-4 years, it's not the similar situation. And again, a lot of people come in, a lot of decision makers. And then it just becomes very difficult actually to put something in and work one-on-one. Because at that stage, it's so healthy with agency creatives. You're directly dealing with them. But in just 2-3 years, it'll change. And not one, many examples that I've gone through.
What happens is, obviously an entrepreneur is brave in his or her decision making. When you have a long line of people, they start second guessing their bosses.
Second-guessing is
Okay,
huge.
and so they're not letting any edgy thought come through. They say he will not buy it or she will not buy it. And when you get to meet that person,
they're cool. Yeah.
and they say, "Wow, that was fantastic. Why didn't you do that?"
Yeah.
Okay? And so therein lies the
Or
problem.
what if they come at the end of the film, once it's made, and say, but this is not what I like?
That's happened.
Yeah,
as
so-
well. That happens so often.
So for that, Piyush had said a fabulous, thing. Once when a client said, "So you'll meet this guy right now," and so Piyush said, "Who's going to approve the film?" He said, "That's the CEO." So he said, if you send your son for a suit fitting, and the father will come for the final trial, it'll never fit. So send the guy who needs to be
Fitted.
wearing the suit.
Yeah, right.
But also, I think what's happened, at least in some of the presentations, thankfully there are not many presentations that happen. But the big boss always says, "You start." So now you've given your point of view. You are sitting next to this person and you're like, "Okay, ये तो उसने बोल दिया. मुझे कुछ नया और अनोखा feedback देना है." So by the end of the thing, it reaches the boss. There's just a bunch of criticism that's come because everybody's trying to do better than the person that's sitting next
Chip
to
in.
them.
Because hierarchy, and they're forced to say.
Yeah, they're forced to say things.
And it's the first, even for us directors, the first time you see a film, like you need some time to process it.
Yeah.
These are people who are not even like,
Nah,
they don't even
attached
do
to it.
this. And you're asking them to dance to some song they're hearing for the first time, like.
And it's the safest thing to, at that point in time, you're putting a kid under pressure. The boss of that company needs to be smart enough, because you're putting a kid under pressure. If the kid says, "I love this film," and later on everybody says it's terrible,
gaya bechara.
then he's lost his job. So safest thing to do, logo can stay a little longer.
It's
That
always
nobody
a-
can deny.
Yeah,
Okay?
I like it, but.
Yeah.
And then the buts come.
Yeah.
Once we played this, like earlier, those beta tapes and all, no?
What's that?
So it's a...
Beta,
so,
tumko samajh mein nahi aaya.
so 3 times you loop the film thrice, so
Right.
they get it. Like, so we played the film thrice. So this client, I'm so dying to name him, but I cannot. So he's like, everyone's looking at him, and he's like, "Actually, I like the first one better than the second." So they have no.
Yeah.
Even like the top dogs are not. They're commenting under pressure. It's the worst way to like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the really nice ones.
Yeah, you have great clients
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I've been in meetings where all the kids have said all the wrong things, and then the final boss, he says, "You guys are wanting a full feature film in an ad film. I disagree with you. It's fantastic." Okay.
Yeah.
So, but for that, the client also needs to be bolshy. The problem in all our business, in any business, not just advertising, people must speak up their mind There is no problem if your statement comes out to be incorrect, but at least you spoke your mind. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you're saying down the line, people are second guessing, but don't tell me your boss won't like it. What do you like?
think?
You tell me.
What do you
Then it is your job to go and convince the boss. Okay, that is your job. Your job is not to inform me what the boss likes and does not like.
And very often the agency has a tough role to play because there are instances where the clients are giving the agency a really hard time, but when they meet Prasoon Pandey or Prakash Varma across the table, they're very sweet to you.
Yeah.
So it's like everything that they were saying all along is not how they...
There is, like Ayappa said, there is a license and for a reason. What happens is when the creative team is presenting, you know which suggestion was coming from the vice president and, they know finally when the director came in, he has no clue who had put this in. And you say, that part is terrible. But they know that the vice president had put, but he does not know it was vice president. So they tend to believe you. So very often you realize, you go there and you start removing all the dirt from the thing and there is a gem underneath, okay, and you show it to them. You realize it's actually started with the gem and the dirt was piled on by the rest of the team. Of
course.
But they are able to buy it only because they know you have come there with no malified intentions.
Right.
But there's also a lot of ego that, stops them from appreciating that gem that you pull out. Nowadays, and it happens a lot, because sometimes, we made a film and the client is like, no, there has to be music from the beginning. I mean, I'm just saying it for the sake of an example. And then you're like, it really doesn't work. And it doesn't work. I mean, if you see it, it doesn't work. But just because now he said it, he's not sticking to his guns. Now, we're like, okay, we'll do it. You come for the session. You brief the music director if you don't think, we're briefing them correctly. and they'll do it, and it's god awful. Like, it's not subjective. It's just not right.
Yeah.
It's not. But they will not step back because they said it. And and that might not happen to you.
In that also I've cheated once. Huh? So one guy down the line, he was sticking and he was saying, no, do a safety shot. I said, I don't do safety shot. I believe or I don't believe. Then the agency said, no, don't do this. We'll lose the client and all. So I said, le lo, ek shot lena iska. ठीक है? And then when the edit happened, he said, no, put that only. So I realized, okay, so I did both the edits, which I did not tell the middle guy. When the boss was being presented, everybody sitting there, I said, I've got two versions for this. One is the thing that he says, one I've got, okay. And now he can't say, no, you can't play yours. I played it and the guy said, wow, I love that. I said, okay. But then cleverly, I did not rub it into him, okay. I said, later on when we met, I said, good, we tried out both here, I'm glad you
But do you
liked
guys ever ask this question when there's this insistent need for my suggestion is very, very important for this film? Whether, like, for instance, it's on music, because music is the most subjective piece of thing you always work on. You end up doing multiple tracks because everybody has their personal aesthetic that comes in. So this is a question more than anything else. How do you ask them, but why? Like, but why do you think that is better? And do you ever get an answer on that front, about a track especially?
There's absolutely nothing wrong in terms of asking. Because if you believe in it, and sometimes it gets into a situation that it's stuck, and if ego comes in, the last thing that I normally say, I think anything is possible. It's also very subjective.
Yeah.
Just if there's any possibility, live with it for some time. At least for 2 to 3 days or 4 days. Then come back to me. And if there's any possibility, if there's time, then we'll think about it. It's just immediate reaction to something is always, because you think of something, it's, as you said, it's very subjective. Just putting them with, showing them references, then they're seriously stuck. You just can't recreate something.
Yeah.
And the clever thing there is to explain to them why, unless you explain to me why this is not working, I do not know where to start the next music. I'm willing to do a new music, but if you haven't explained to me what is not working for you...
But then immediately there'll be an answer. You are the magician.
So
I'm not a creative person.
I'm not the
But
creative.
when you ask also, you'll get silly answer, like the percussion is not good, and they're like, but
My
like
point
you'll
is,
get
वही
all
बोल दो,
this.
चलो, वही बोल दो. कुछ मुझे पसंद नहीं है.
More
क्या पसंद नहीं है?
concrete feedback.
I mean, I usually just fight it out till the end. I just keep fighting till, I mean,
But
I either
sometimes-
win or lose.
Sometimes
because-
is your judgment also sort of cloudy because, you are working with music, like you have one day to do it, you have umpteen other pressures. So sometimes if you genuinely feel that you haven't put the best piece out there, are you receptive to that feedback in the sense
Yeah,
of...
yeah.
I'm actually sometimes, the thing is with music, again, it's feeling, right? You have to feel it. If you feel it, it's good. Sometimes I've sent a music track and I've not felt it when the agency's bounced. I'm like, oh, good. Now I don't have to bounce
You know,
with the
I'll
music
tell you-
director. You know, I let it through.
I'll tell you, because you also as a filmmaker, you've worked very closely, you've done the track and whatever. When this conversation happens, also you just understand, right? This is coming from a very genuine reaction. You know that somebody is
Right.
talking, or is it because of hierarchy, other problems, baggage?
Yeah.
You figure that out, right? Then either you cut off,
Right.
you try to fight it, or else at that point you just leave it. But when you know,
Then
you
you
start
do.
thinking.
Yeah.
You say, okay, let me just, because you know where this is coming from.
Right. So just again to say, so therefore, like, do filmmakers have to worry about the efficacy of the film that they make? Do you think?
If you've screwed up the film, yes. But other than that, because it already goes through a lot of stages of intellectual wankery before it comes to you. You know, there is
I love
research, then there is a client who approves it, then there is a planning, then there is creative. So by the time it comes to you, the strategy is kind of thought out. So as a director, I feel personally, you should not be limited by all those things. You should just do what it takes to make that story shine, because the that's taken
That's
care
taken
of.
care of.
Yeah, but then you're running this relay race and you're the last guy and you need to win this race for them. So the baton is passed on to you, and if you don't run that race well...
Yeah. No, but you have to run that section of the race well. You don't
Yeah.
have to, you're not responsible
For that.
for that.
Right.
But I also feel, you know,
It's just less limiting creatively, you know, to have that fearlessness, to be, it's closer, then you're making it closer to art as opposed to increasing sales by 21.3%. You know, like.
Right. Celebrities in advertising. Clearly that has taken a quantum leap in terms of number of ads that are made with celebs in them. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Terrible thing.
Horrible.
Terrible, horrible.
It's terrible because there is no problem if you had a strong idea which has a strong marriage with the personality of the
The
celeb.
actor, yeah.
Okay, and the way to check whether it is a strong idea or not is you need to ask yourself, does it work without the
without
celeb?
the celeb.
Okay,
Yeah.
then it makes sense. Otherwise, it's a huge liability that you pick up. Once, as soon as you pick up a celeb, then the shoot date is not being decided by what the project need is. It is being decided by when the celeb is free. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, spending tons of money, buying 8 hours. Okay, and then at a phenomenal cost. Then you're trying to squeeze in some fights and
Assets. What is that word?
So it becomes
digital
mathematics.
assets.
It is no longer
Yeah, and for a filmmaker, there's absolutely nothing to do there, actually.
Right.
Lines are
Yeah.
given. You're just there.
I
You're
find
just
that the
doing a
most
job.
condescending creative process ever, you know, because everything is chosen by rarely do you get chosen, because management companies now have production houses as well.
Yeah.
So they will swing the job inwards and they will scare the client into giving the job from the management company to the production house. So it has to only be done there. Where do we even stand a chance? So, I mean, when you do get a foot into the door, then it's the 8 hours in the, like you said, 8 hours photo shoot, this, that, whatever, 86 looks.
Because with them, it's never about the story. You know, it's never about an idea.
कितना दिख रहा है वो?
It's about, you know, that person literally, you know, calling out, you know, either the brand's message or some offer or something like that. So it's not about a story or a brand.
Yeah. And there's also lots of talk sometimes about how the celebrities influence who they want to work with. So it's not necessarily the right fit of director
mandate,
versus...
yes.
No, I'm happy
Yeah.
when they ask for me. Usually they don't.
No, but even if you get the celeb, I mean, effectively in that 8 hours, as a director, what joy is there in trying to finish the film in 4
Yeah.
hours? What joy is there? Because you're just constantly stressed, like, do I need another close-up? Do I need another wide? Or do we get the film? Do we have the film? Have we candid?
Eight
I think
cameras
it's-
rolling together.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think it's all in last few years. I think we had great celebrity commercials.
Yeah, we did.
I involved many films.
Yeah, but there was
Great
a
stuff,
story
but
and
not
an
anymore.
idea.
Not anymore.
There was a time when you had great ideas which were marrying well with that.
With
Yeah.
the
the
character,
celeb.
yes.
Now it's just sort of...
Now they're saying, okay, that celeb is taken by that brand. Okay, this one. So you know, there's just
But that's the
random
reason.
rush.
Sorry, that's the reason things are getting temporary, right? Because everything is governed by the dates, right? So even the client doesn't have much of a window to even develop.
So would you say no to a film
No, so the,
if it doesn't work, that fit is not
correct.
right?
Sometimes
Yeah.
but sometimes you're stuck. Like for example, when it started, there was nobody. It just everything is done. It's just maybe 5 days before the shoot.
True.
Decision change, and this is it, and you're already in.
Right. Yeah. That's
Many a
happened
times,
once. Yeah.
when you know earlier, then you step back.
Right.
But I'd like to ask you, you've done some of the most magical celebrity-related work. And that form, which you started with CRED, has now sort of become this template as well.
Yeah, it's
And,
horrible.
and do you feel that that's become a little bit of a trope in advertising
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you
yeah.
take a celebrity, they
yeah.
self-deprecate themselves,
Yeah.
and there's the toing music in the end?
Yeah.
But it's still better than them selling shit holding
Correct,
some
correct.
toothpaste.
Yeah.
No?
Still
It's still
better.
better than that.
100%.
Because, I mean, you take a celebrity and like you're saying, if there is an idea, then the celebrity is never the idea. For most people, they think the celebrity is the idea. That's not the idea, you know. Just putting Sachin Tendulkar brushing his teeth is not going to sell, like, you know. It's not as simple as that. But yeah, like, CRED where it's concerned, when it started, it was nice, but it has become repetitive and a lot of people kind of do the same thing and they fail. So when I see that,
What does it do to you?
I want to make less ads.
No, so that, again, can advertising or commercials ever be considered art? Or should we just look at it differently now?
No, I don't think it was complete art ever.
Right.
It was closer to art, but it was, you know, you always had somebody funding it, and that purpose needs to be served. Okay, so to that extent, it is more design than art. You know, you've got a problem or you've got an opportunity that you are trying to
Solve.
tackle with this piece of creative that you're doing.
As
So-
artistically as possible.
As artistically as possible.
Right. Shirsha, how do you navigate, like, with all this, this democratization of filming, like your question said earlier? Like, is there any room for magic? Is there any room for play, or everything has to be as you promised it to be and what you close on a PPM? So how do you navigate it specifically?
I feel, when there are so many moving parts in any project, there's always space for magic. You don't know who can bring in that magic. It could be the actor, it could be the music director. There are so many people. The editor, for me, editing is the most magical part of filmmaking because that's where the film really gets made.
Shapes up, yeah.
Yeah, and thankfully, a lot of our crew doesn't have the baggage that we do. I find that process very interesting because they don't have the baggage that what the client told me or this that, so which is why we never try and tell crew like your DOP, your costume, everything that the client says. So there's a lot, so they still try, so they're not as bogged down as
That's a nice one. Yeah,
we are. So the music director is still trying to do something fun. I sometimes know, oh shit, that's not gonna fly, but I'm gonna let
Try
it be
it.
for a bit and
Right.
see what happens and see
Yeah.
if somebody else is bouncing it. I mean, I feel like the filmmaking process is magical, like especially the editing part of it. For me, it's my most favorite part.
So yeah, has it become more quantity and less quality in some way?
Advertising always was, no?
Yeah.
Quantity?
more quantity
as much
than-
as it is now?
But brands have also gone up, right? There's so many, like
The number of brands.
The number of brands, startups.
So is there more
quantity.
competition, you would say, in the ad filmmaking business?
Competition. And
Everything
there's
has
enough work,
increased, right? Directors have increased, production houses have
Probably
increased.
clutter is a more polite word.
We are a skippable content creation machinery in a way. We make something that you make people watch and they are allowed to skip it. You're competing with the attention span. That's why every now and then you hear a client say, "वो तो 5 सेकंड में logo डाल दो." 5 सेकंड में logo को पास मत लाओ film में, but logo डाल दो.
But that's because there's research that says
Yeah,
that,
there's research.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, we are competing with that. We are competing with reels, we are competing with memes, we are competing with everything under the sun. So I think there's this a lot more for people to consume.
And that research is warped. Okay, you need to lock in within the first 5 seconds.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to put in the logo in
yeah,
the first
exactly.
5 seconds. That is a conclusion that they've taken. If first 5 seconds में ये हो रहा है तो एक logo तो दिखा दो. If they think it is a rubbish film, at least logo देख लिया
Very
मेरा.
good point, very good
But
point,
what
yeah.
you need to do, of course, if people can skip the ad in 7 seconds, in the first 7 seconds you need to show him something
Something that
which
they want to stay for.
which becomes the reason why he wants to see the commercial
so
more.
the clickbait, the eyeballs,
Yeah.
whatever it is that they want. Yeah, right. Yeah, so I mean, somewhere we have to toe the line on those, right? It can't be just like, okay, I'm a filmmaker and I'm creative and I'm going to take my time with it. So it is commercial art, and we have to be very, very clear about those
Called
parameters.
commercial.
Yeah, it's called commercial.
That's
exactly.
an interesting challenge to even take up,
That's-
to be a part of that.
But your approach can still be artistic, you can do it with a lot of passion, but yeah, finally it is.
Yeah. What do you have to say about filmmakers doing rival brands?
It's a good, yeah, we are mercenaries. I've shot Pepsi and Coke back to back because we are like a heart surgeon. Now, as a heart surgeon, I could be operating on a cop and a thief 5 minutes later. As a filmmaker, we are starting on the brief and the problem that you brought to us. And I'm saying, if that is the thing, what is the best story for you? I'm not saying, what is the best story to run the other burger down?
Yeah.
Okay? Can a shopkeeper keep both Pepsi and Coke? Then a filmmaker can also make Pepsi and Coke.
But 𝗵𝗿𝗏 has a different experience.
What is it?
From our years of doing Vodafone, and then we did an Airtel film, and I think there was some kind of possessiveness, saying that, you've helped us
sometimes people
build...
get touchy, but that's
But I
okay.
think that
they
was
need
also-
to.
It was such a nice
that
and
was-
long
No,
relationship.
so
That was
thing
the
is
era of
that-
relationships.
so actually, there are no rules, right? I mean, as Prasoon said, he can do whatever. I was also emotionally attached post that. And let me tell you, I think long years, I don't think anyone has experienced 18 years of relationship with a brand from a very early stage. So during this process, it's not that every time we got it right or a campaign became successful. Many times we also lost it, we goofed up. But at, such situation, no one blamed me or I blamed the client or agency. We said, okay, we didn't get this right. And what a healthy, and I come from that kind of an experience, so a bit spoiled when I just meet new bunch and if they're little off from, because everybody was passionate about the brand.
Right.
And it's long-term vision.
Do you feel bad if your director's cut doesn't see the light of day? Like now there are clients who are very clear that you can't put out director's cuts.
Very much.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
of course.
happening?
Yes.
Let's not discuss
Of course
this
you
because
feel
people
bad.
will get ideas.
No, but there is now some
Yeah.
pushback
But
on
I
it.
feel worse for agencies because some agencies told me they've got clients who have put this into their contract that if they presented 5 scripts and the client chose one, the other 4 can never be used for anybody else. And I'm saying, what rubbish is that?
Yeah.
If you are dumb enough to choose the worst one of them, then the better one can go to if it is a natural fit for somebody else, because it is your insecurity. You do not want to be seen as the guy who chose incorrectly. So
Exactly.
just bury it all.
Yeah.
Earlier, there's no, like YouTube and other things, at least we could put a show reel, right?
Right.
And now this also sometimes not getting completed.
Yeah. You would.
The
yeah,
edit, sometimes it's not even completed with the right music. So it's gone.
It's gone,
Of course
yeah.
you feel
But what is this thing about it? Why can't someone make a
it's
director's
not,
cut?
I mean, it's some international.
Some
Some
clients
brands
are
have that
starting-
in their
Yeah.
contract.
All
that
international
the
brands, actually.
only piece of communication that goes out on this brand ever is theirs.
Is what they have approved.
But
No, I'll tell-
I've generally stopped
No, no.
trying to make a
I'll
director's
te-
cut.
No, it's not a rule from that company. I'll tell you the problems are because sometimes there are music which is used, music rights.
Copyrights.
Right? There are many elements to it. And finally, what goes on air, you can't put what you worked on and it's approved before because there's so many rights, legalities. You can't put it.
Yeah, there are too many elements now.
No,
legal.
also
I think
sometimes
Instagram.
you can't even use a link different from there. So you
Yeah.
can use their YouTube link or your reel. You can't upload it separately.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
It's
That's
a part
ridiculous.
of contract. It's a part of contract. It's a part of the contract you sign.
Who are these brands?
Do any of you have any kind of specific work that you say no to, like alcohol, like political, any such?
I do alcohol work a lot.
You do?
Yeah.
That's fine. But what do you say no to? Do you have any such thing?
Bad scripts.
Bad scripts.
Bad scripts, definitely. But
Always.
Yeah.
skincare brands that, it's the classic. It's the easiest one to say no to, I guess.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That works or pretends to be all for this, but at the end of the day, they ask you in the PPM, can you make her look lighter? So
Yeah.
those are the kind of brands that we try and say no to.
Do you have any?
No, I don't have a problem with anything, as long as it's a good idea. Fortunately, no murderer or anybody came to us saying do a commercial. So if it is allowed to be aired, I'm okay with it. But it has to be a good script. It should be a script that will excite me. And when I'm reading a script, I never read it like a director would read it. I'm just reading it like the layman would read it. So if the layman wants to, is going to enjoy this film, I want to be part of it. It may not have any room for me to shine as a director in it.
Right.
But it's a good piece. मजा आएगा उसको. उसको
Right.
मजा आएगा तो I want to be part of that team that is making
I
it.
think, we're all storytellers. The first thing when you look at it, advertising is not the thing which comes in. Is there anything that you can do
No,
as
that's
a
fine.
filmmaker?
But like Shirsha was nodding her head and saying, no, I don't do this. So
Yeah,
like there
for
may be
sure.
another point of view which says that it's not only always about the craft, it has to align with your thinking. You have to, you know.
I do feel responsible for the work that we put out, like I do feel as filmmakers, we are in charge of something. It's like a lot of people watch film. It engages a lot of people. We force people to watch our films, right? Because it's in the middle of IPL or whatever. So, I do feel responsible for messaging that is not right. Like, oh, if you become fair, you'll get a job. Or if you look a particular way, you'll get a job. All of these things are already, we come from a society that is one, patriarchal, B, we are colored by a Western idea of beauty and all of that. So do you want the world after you to be even worse? So I don't want to perpetrate certain ideas.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
So if
say
it doesn't
stories
align
about
with
them.
your thinking, then there's a pushback.
Yeah. So fairness cream is not a problem. If you say this is going to give you healthy
It's in the
skin,
story.
it's fine.
What is the story that you're
Yeah,
saying?
but what are you saying
Messaging,
with
like
it?
you said.
Right.
If you become from shade to shade, is that a good thing? No, that's not a good thing.
Right.
But if you're getting healthier, is that a good thing? Yes, of course it's a good thing.
Like sometimes they say, no, don't cast South Indians. Make sure that they're no South Indian looking people because they're
Yeah,
dark. Like,
yeah.
so I really lose my shit when they say
so
that.
again, we don't work with
Yeah, so those
people
people
like
need
that.
they need to get an education on life first before ads. Like,
yeah.
so that I
But
feel I have to
tell
do
me
like-
something. If you're any product you're doing, products are by nature. Like, is Kellogg's good? Is 𝗵𝗿𝗲 good? 𝗵𝗿𝗲's gone through this whole thing and everyone has done 𝗵𝗿𝗲 with all the, like, wow, you'll become amazing, you'll become brilliant. I mean, yeah, sure. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but just to internalize, by the extension of this, you'll have to end up saying no to everything.
No,
Yeah,
correct.
that's what, it's an
But this is
ever-evolving
a-
communication
That's
with
what,
self.
because no product, we're not selling organic carrots.
No,
You
no,
know?
of course not.
Sure.
And again, it's subjective. Like your
Right.
point of view or your war against what you want to
No,
choose
sure, I
to
get-
is very personal. Some people don't want to do Pepsi because it's sugar. Whatever. Again, it's very personal. But
I'm
for
just asking
me,
because I just want to know, like,
but for me, and it's again, it's very personal, right? Like for me, it matters that I don't want to show a fair girl as a good girl. It's personal for me. I don't want it. I don't want to show fair skin as good skin because it's not.
I agree.
I think, and celebrities come in the line of fire when they make those choices more than us, right?
Because they're easy target to go for. I think it's unfair to target them. If the government is allowing something to be manufactured and be put on air, then if celebrity, poor guy, is he going to act or is he going to check out the product and detail of his
fructose
thing?
levels
He's not educated enough about that.
But
that
for the kind of money,
Money
he
you're
earns,
getting.
yeah, but he can't be educated for this. So for the kind of money that we are paying the government should do this checklist. No, if this product is illegal, just ban it. If that product is incorrect for a celeb to advertise, to endorse, how is it correct for a layman dressed in a lab coat to endorse it? If it is incorrect, it is incorrect. Then stop it.
right? Yeah, no,
So, again, I have a slightly different point of view on that. Like, we can't change the government. Unfortunately, there are so many wheels at play that, you can't stop, like the corporates are, who they are, and you can't fight them. But, at least as a person, a celebrity, and you are endorsing it as that person. You're not endorsing it as a character from a film. Right? So when it is a person and you're endorsing certain things, you're basically telling a whole bunch of people to do it as a person, like as the human being. You're saying this is good. So, it's easier, and I understand that they're easier targets, but they are responsible for what they're selling. If you are a cricketer and you're selling sugar, saying this is what gives me energy, a child will believe that. So do you want to be a part of that kind of a communication? You have enough. Look at the kind of money.
You can be an Inzamamul Haq and eat rasgullas and make lots of runs.
No, but I am
I'm saying
telling
if
about
we get into that, it
I
is
feel
an
if we
endless-
moralize as a companies this much, because then are we getting into carbon footprint and like...
It's endless, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's definitely endless, but it's never endless.
It's a black hole.
Yeah,
We
it
won't
finally
work.
boils down to choice.
Yeah,
And how
and it's
how
subjective.
Yeah, I think you can, but I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think advertising filmmakers are in any position to give gyan about
Not even at all.
ethics.
I think for us, it's the storyline. and the
Yeah, that's
exciting.
it. That's it. Yeah.
And then, of course, you exercise individual.
Yeah, and,
No,
and
that
of
of
course
course,
you
yeah.
must
Yeah.
exercise your. So, you know, there could be something that you never want to do, and it's fair enough. There is-
Absolutely.
you should say no to it, because what's the point of
Yeah.
doing your own business if you
completely.
end up doing something that you don't like?
Yeah. And coming to that, with the two women on the panel,
We were just getting to an argument here.
you can continue
Just
the
spoiling
argument.
for a fight here.
With this whole gender issue being front and center of everything that we sort of come to, do you think there's, I mean, what do you bring to the table that's different from all the men? Is there something like that? Is there tokenism? Secondly, is it required to have this tokenism so that at some point you will bridge the gap and you will sort of get to the other side? So what do you girls have to say about it?
I think the female gaze has been missing from any kind of storytelling for a very long time. So a large part of what you see as normal is a male gaze. Like, you know, which woman is wearing a sari, tied hair, makeup and doing jharu, dusting, cooking, you know, and that is what advertising shows, right? Like, this is the mother who's cooking in the house is perfectly dressed in a sari. It's a male gaze. It's what you would want your house or your kitchen to look like. And, you know, I'm just saying it's a very, everything that we do and say,
Sanitized version of
sanitized version of, you know, whether it is pretty, whether it is everything, it's a male gaze. And somehow, you know, because there have been such less female storytellers in the business in the past, that bridge did not get overcome at all. But with women coming in, and now there are a great bunch,
I believe
a
50 or so.
fantastic
Yeah.
bunch of stories, and you can see the change. You can see the kind of stories they tell. I feel that gaze is important. It's fair.
Absolutely,
And you know,
yeah.
whether it is
Won
the
a Grand
choice of
Prix- Won a
actors.
Grand Prix yesterday.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you know, again, see their choice of actors. See the kind of women they find beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's different from the male
It is
gaze.
so lovely to see brown women.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know,
South
how
Indian
do you define beautiful? Where did the definition come from? You know, it's an Indian thing, no? To marry a fair girl. Where did that come from? Why do we still persist with that gaze? You
Right.
know? And I think all of that will change when there are women storytellers.
Absolutely. And how is that going to happen, Kopal? How do you think we will have... Because these changes are slow. You know, it's not like everyone's consciously now saying, can we get more women in? Can I, you know... But how do you think that will change?
See, I mean, one thing is the female gaze, one thing is the industry itself. What is our gender ratio in the industry? You have the 1% of directors and you have the 1% of female directors, and that's different. So I think we have a long, long way to go. I mean, it becomes the difference between equality and equity, really. You know, you have lots of women directors, but what are the budgets they're working on? How much work are they getting? Are they getting the bigger brands? Their journeys are extremely different, and there's no two ways about it. We can keep saying that, no, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just to add another perspective to it, I'm a woman running a business, whatever. But I know that in some ways my life was on pause because I had kids. So I was
Same here. I had a daughter, and that was
Yeah.
it.
So
It was no career
producer-
for 7 months. Nobody
Yeah.
called you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been working for 24 years, but I think my career is 8 years old. So, you know, that's really where the difference is.
Yeah, so there's an
Let's-
internal battle as well that you are
look at
dealing
our DOPs.
Yeah,
Where are the women?
yeah.
A young boy comes and we all jump up and say he's talented and we give him a chance. But where are the women? So I think when it comes to bringing equality to female gaze, all of that, I think let's bring it in the industry first.
But you
And
think-
this is affirmative action.
Yeah,
We
so
need
it will
to-
change. I think somewhere, I don't know if the men feel this way, but do you hear us? Like-
No, but I'm saying it's not something, and see, there's no blame here. There is
Yeah,
no
sure.
blame here, because not making it to a mental shortlist for female directors, to make it a mental shortlist is extremely difficult. You were talking about CRED, 𝗵𝗿𝗿. What I'm doing is a women's career acceleration program. At my age, I'm doing this now. You know, you see what I'm saying? So how to bring equity into the market based on merit. I'm not saying no pity handouts. Can we can we try to look at our crews? Can we try to say, okay, can I call a young female DOP and make her shoot my 10-seconder and give her practice so that she knows how to mount bigger projects? Can we do stuff like that? And I think when we start balancing it out within our industry, bigger changes will happen.
Yeah, that said, it is not easy. There's lots that is at stake sometimes. I mean, I know that, at some point it was a battle for me to, like, I have 3 kids, and now they're old enough. But life did take a sort of backseat, right? In the sense that what could I have been or have done, but I chose this. I'm a producer who produced 3 kids too. So, and I need to be good at this job as well. So, does it mean that I trade off something for something else? No, I don't. And then you learn to make your peace with this, and you start to enjoy this just as much, and you feel fulfilled there
But
as well.
lesser women are having children now because for
Exactly.
the fear of not. So again, as an industry, we all need to get together and start talking about
So
it.
actually,
At least
this
start
question
talking
is for
about
the men,
it.
therefore. Now that you hear us and you hear a lot of women saying the same thing, having to give up marriage, children, etc., because they come in the way of your career and stuff. And there's a whole, I mean, we can do a segment on it, but I'm saying, in your own way, do you think that the time has come, and some of you have daughters, for us to change the narrative, for us to, in some way, make sure that we onboard women? You have Neha working with you, so that we hear this other perspective that we are sort of saying to you, like, do it consciously. Can you find a way to integrate that into your businesses where there are more women who you can give them the opportunity to come in there and, be? Is that something that you would consider?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Of course. And I think also my experience, more than 60-70%, I think if you really look at the number of women, I think much more contribution, thinking, multitasking.
Efficiency. Yeah.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, like, women directors, I think we
I'm
need a
saying
lot
not
of...
just direction and art department, because that's usually direction, art, costumes on any crew will be full of women.
Yeah.
I'm saying sound recordist, DOP, sound engineers in studios. These are music directors, barring Sneha and a couple of others now. I think Sangyukta. I don't know any. I don't know them.
Yeah. And it has to be accelerated.
and
It
you know,
feels like it's too slow.
Yeah, the catch is it needs to be accelerated, but it is happening. When a DOP comes, I'm seeing many more DOPs coming in with female assistants because they will be the DOPs of
next
future.
DOP.
So we are going to see that change. Life changes a little slowly, unfortunately. When it comes to story, I like women to win, not for any larger than life cause, only because it is a great dramatic need. Because for centuries we have oppressed her, it's great fun to make her win, So even if it's a small thing, what a guy cannot open, it's got nothing to do with the story. Then I get a girl who just opens it and goes inside. I enjoy that because you thought she will not be able to open. That is your preconceived notion.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So for a dramatic need, I tend to do that. So say 25, 26 years back, I did a commercial out of a belief, and it can backfire like that. And it was about inner beauty. So 26 years back, I was still part of Highlight then. And I said, and brave client, because I said, when you say inner beauty, it is not for me to decide. It is for the woman to decide. So she need not be a model. She can be anybody. She can be a village woman. She can be 80 years old. She can be 13 years old. And they bought the idea. And so we took a camera and we roamed around your homeland in Kerala. And I saw one lady, come out with great confidence. 80-year-old woman just came out, stepped into that miniature boat and, rowed across the waterway, which none of us would be able to do. And I said, listen, I need to put her in this commercial. She just needs to turn and look at me, okay? And then we went to Rajasthan. So we rolled a hell of a lot of stock, shot all this, okay? And we came back and the client was very happy. And then it bombed in research.
Oh.
Because in research, women said, she looks like me. I don't want a cream that makes me look like me.
Yeah,
I want a
exactly.
cream that makes me look like 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗲.
Transformation, yeah.
So the change will happen overall, not just in commercials. Everything needs to work in tandem.
Understood.
Over and above that, I think it's also important what she said. It's about taking action in that direction. Is it okay?
affirmative.
Yeah, is it not okay for like to say, okay, why haven't we hired more women on this job? When I look at the room, sometimes I feel, oh bloody hell, there's not enough women in the room, and that sort of check yourself is essential as well. And every now and then, anybody who's in the capacity to hire somebody, it's inclusivity in all form. You have to just look around who's missing. You look around and who's not here.
Yeah, and purely by merit, of course.
The more you work, the better you get. So create smaller work where you
Yeah.
can take a chance so people have the opportunity to get better.
Right.
And eventually comes, which is what I'm saying. Not saying grab someone new and give them a big project and say, let's do this. No, don't do that.
But sorry, Sneha, because the fact that I'm not constantly in India, right? So, okay, since you mentioned it, I'm totally for it. But at the same time, say if I have somebody wanting to assist me, right? I would absolutely welcome more girls approaching, blah, 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 just for them to be inclusive, But I tend to find, I'm very sorry, I'm not generalizing, but it tends to happen that lads or men or boys are more proactive. They tend to, so I don't understand what is really stopping somebody from...
Circumstances. I think what happens is, say a kid who is wanting to assist a director will actually end up finding some resistance at home, which is stopping her. Her desire to come, there is no shortage in that.
Yeah.
Okay, but we realize what happens at home. People get scared. Girl will go. They think advertising is also film industry.
And
That
male-dominated
culture has
also.
not changed
So,
much.
so there is a feeling we all have that we have got amongst the women working with us and the men, we've got the women are brighter, I feel, and there is a reason for that. That actually that stopping in the house, the braver women got out and they reached here. Whereas the guy, if he just told his dad, I'm getting one job, he said, good, you're getting some job, go. Okay. So that sieve was there, so we are getting bright kids, but the sieve is not a good sieve. Okay. Society needs to change everywhere. Parents will also need to give equal opportunity to both.
Yeah.
Down the line.
That brings me to a very important question. We have two panelists who made the big switch to feature films. So what can we learn from you? Is that the sort of ultimate goal? Is that where we should all head? Or, okay, let's ask the others. So is advertising your first love? Hands up.
Yeah, and
yeah.
even more now.
Yeah. So, okay, but
I love it. I think, because it's a form of storytelling. And, I actually, my true thing would be like a fiction short film. That's what I would love to do. So advertising is very close to that. I enjoy it a lot and it gives me great practice. Like, if it's a feature film, you can shoot 1 in 3 years. If you're lucky, maybe 1 in 2 years maximum if you're like...
But what can we learn from this experience that you went through?
What it did, how my advertising background helped me for me, it was everyday work. Like I do this twice a month for the last 15 years. So when you go into a set and there are 20 things, we were shooting in the middle of the pandemic. Tomorrow the location is not available. You're constantly on your toes. So, we were supposed to shoot in an airport. Now tomorrow that airport is not, they're not giving permission. I know 3 locations that I've already shot in which I've converted into an airport. So I can, that kind of practice, that kind of skill, I don't know anything else.
So the adaptability
Is, just, just practice, the practice of your craft.
But which of the two did you enjoy more? I mean, do you enjoy more?
That's unfair, actually. They're 2 different
I can answer that.
kinds.
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, finish.
But, I thoroughly enjoyed long format and I want to do more of it. But when I finished it, I was dying to get back to advertising. And now when you do advertising for 2 years and you're dying to go back to long format, it's a chicken and egg kind of a thing. But it's not like one leads to another or one should lead to another.
It's never the ultimate goal that I will become an ad filmmaker so I can become a long form filmmaker. It's always been the same for me. I will approach it, or at least I've tried to approach it with the same kind of love and passion. What advertising has done for me, it's allowed me to sharpen my knives a lot, The film I eventually ended up making was offered to me because of the kind of ads I was doing. Do I want to make those ads anymore? Do I want to make that film anymore? Not necessarily. But that allowed me to try everything under the sun that I eventually ended up doing on the film. So I learned a lot in the year and a half before I actually got to make that film. So that, for me, it worked out that way. Now life is a little different. You know, I'm now gunning to do my next long form, but yes, I'm equally excited to do an ad.
Sorry.
Yeah, before I forget, sometime back, in fact, I met filmmaker Rajesh Krishna, I think a few years back. So, Film City, I'm shooting commercial in one floor. Rajesh is shooting a feature film in another floor. Lunch break, we both are meeting. That's my set, that's Rajesh's set. We are standing, and a couple of other people, we are talking. So, the pin drop silence sometimes looking at Rajesh. Rajesh is also looking at me. And then after all this, we said, what were you thinking? So he said, how lucky he's doing advertising. And I'm looking at Rajesh and I said, oh, great man.
Yeah, but Ayappa?
No, so I think like it's easier in advertising to get away with it, you know? Like you can get a cool DP, put some music, do some cuts and all that. You can get away with it technically. I'm not saying, I'm not undermining anything. I mean, I make ads. But in a film is where I feel your real strength is as a human being and as a creative person, because it's not just that. It's like are you going to hold it for 2 hours? You need to know your character arc. You need to know various things. You need to have like solid vision, stamina. So no wonder people are saying that, because it's too intense. Like and it gives you satisfaction, but it also screws you. So that way advertising
and
is great.
also how you're mentally because for a longer time that you're thinking the way you put together a film and advertising, it's completely different ballgame. I mean,
Yeah. But that said, so we've been like shitting on clients and agencies. The business aspect of the feature film side or the OTT side is what? Is any worse? Is better?
Everybody is working with an algorithm now. Everybody is working with surveys.
I think it's worse.
Okay.
It depends on the producer finally, but otherwise...
They will tell you at 5 minutes, this needs to happen. Which is similar to at 5 seconds, the logo needs to happen. So
Right.
there's
So there's, I mean, it's
I
like
think there's
between the
research in
devil and the
OTT
deep blue
also
sea.
now. I think OTT also has research, so that's why.
Until
know,
you're
I-
making indie films, you know, then it's a
I
different
think that's the
ballgame.
only way. Like,
That's the
make
only
indie
way.
films if you want your artistic freedom,
Yeah.
and that's the only way to do it. Because I've been to like 250 ppms, but none was as bad as that one meeting I had with the OTT. You know, because in an ad you let it go, but you can't. You know, you're going to be stuck with that for 2 years. No?
Which
you
is
can't
why
be,
the Malayalam film
or else
industry
you should
is
go and do
doing-
Malayalam films.
Yeah.
Are you acting?
Okay. So, did you ever think that you would be an ad filmmaker when you were 20? Any of you?
No.
No.
20, yes.
20 you knew?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
always wanted to make films, feature films.
Yeah? Okay.
And initially when I actually assisted, I said, this is not my thing, because I don't think I can sit and, just convince some 15, 20 people in a round table, and this is not my cup of tea. But just look how life drifted in
Yeah.
last 25 years.
And knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
Do exactly
One
the
thing,
same
quickly.
thing.
Just be
Do
yourself.
the same thing?
Exactly.
Be yourself.
Shabash.
shabash beta.
Shabash.
Well done.
Yeah? Wow.
Lado kam. That's one thing I'll... Lado kam.
No, ladna chahiye. Unless you fight it out, you will not be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you
will-
said, lado par unko lagna nahi chahiye. ki
Yeah,
unke
usko
saath
मालूम
लड़ा-
नहीं पड़ना
usko मालूम नहीं
चाहिए,
होना
लड़
चाहिए.
ले.
I would say not to take it too seriously.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, quick round of questions for each of you. Prasoon, you really dig deep into your roots, right? Where you grew up, all of that. How important is that to you?
It's everything.
It's everything.
If my roots is what they make me today, and that is the database in my head, there's nothing that I create. It's only what I've observed in life and what I've experienced in life, and I just put a frame around it and I call it an ad.
Right. Wow, that's wonderful. Shirsha, do you think we have scope to be more inclusive in advertising?
We do. I do think we have come a long way, but I do think we've done well there.
Yeah. Kopal, my question for you was about the See It, Be It campaign. You want to just tell us clearly what that is, really?
So it's basically a women's career acceleration program, which has been on for 10 years with Cannes, and I think Dubai Links and Spikes Asia also has it. So every year, there are applications across the world. You have to apply for it like you would for any course. So this year, there were like 1,373 applications worldwide, and 19 women across the world were selected. Typically, agency creative women, they apply for it.
Okay.
And a friend of mine said that take a chance. So I said, okay. And I just applied
Lovely,
for it.
congratulations.
And,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's superb.
So it's run by Madonna Badger, who has a Badger agency in New York. I'm also just learning everything now. So it's exciting, a lot of brilliant minds. It's great to see what women are up to across the world. It's really fantastic.
Right.
Lovely.
Tejal, question for you. This photographer tag, is that something that you get sort of, like he can do only this kind of work? Is that something you want to change?
So I'll make it as quick as I can. So photography, and I told you that it was a cliche when everyone was moving to filmmaking. So I did my start exposure to film was through Channel V and MTV. That's where I directed promos, etc. And then I said, okay, I'm really loving it. So maybe instead of being labeled, I want to go learn it on my own, right? So I took off. Sweet, I was doing pretty okay doing photography, so I went to London to study film. Then when I came back, I got consumed with photography again. So I forgot the fact that I'd gone to learn filmmaking, right? So anyways, that was my fault. So then when I got into it, yes, even till date, people do say that, and sometimes I get introduced as a photographer and not as a filmmaker, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, it has been a struggle, but I found a nice sort of sweet spot, and I'm very comfortable with myself. Yeah.
My question for 𝗵𝗲 before he runs off. What is the relationship you share with your producer?
Oh!
Come on, let's put him on the line.
I mean, it's all clear, right? It's just great producer because 3 children she produced.
Thank you.
And another thing, I think the bank account remains the same. So everything comes to just one account, but just joking. It's been wonderful because I think she also comes from a very, very strong creative background and also a filmmaker. What more you can ask? When you discuss creative stuff and middle of the night, early morning, 3 o'clock, waking up, I have an idea. And she's there, up there to listen and say, bullshit, that will not work. So every time the first reaction is always her. I mean, it's wonderful. And also, I think advertising gave us a lot of personal time to plan our life when our children grew up, right? So everything was around their schedule. So touch with it all worked very well. Brilliant.
Super. Akash, you said that, the kind of work that comes to you is the same because that's a template people think of you, what would you like to see, yourself do?
I don't mind doing the work that comes to me. However, that's exactly what I said earlier. I really feel like if I can just deviate a little bit from it, it allows me that room to then go further in the next possible job that I get. I see myself constantly trying to do something which is visual in a way that it's attractive for you to want to watch. Now, whether it's a narrative piece, whether it's comedy, it should first appeal to you without hearing anything. That's the kind of work I enjoy. Like you said, sometimes it's easy for my genre of work to be like, acha music dalo, 4 cut dalo, ad nikal gaya.
Right.
And that's a respite as well because sometimes I have to rely on that.
Yeah.
However, in that, if I can do something which anybody, like the kind of work that we grew up on, nostalgia is what we grew up on.
Right.
It's nostalgia, therefore, for the future. If somebody watches
so
it
that's
and
sort of where you want to lead.
अच्छा बनाया है, ऐसा हमें भी बनाना है.
Can you teach comic timing to anybody? Like, is that a...
Right now? Okay. No, I'm sure you can learn it, but it's like a stand-up comic can do stand-up
Either
comedy,
you
but
have it or you don't.
he needs to be funny,
Right.
I think it's a mix of both. You need to have something instinctive, and of course you can watch stuff and pick up like all of us have,
Right.
Yeah. But if you're not funny, you're not funny.
Yeah, got it. Do you think AI is an enabler or a disruptor going forward? Is that something that you have thoughts on? Yes?
Enabler, for sure.
Enabler?
Yeah.
How many enablers?
Yeah.
1, 2,
Of course.
3,
It depends
4.
on how you use it.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
but specifically to ad filmmaking.
No,
It's an enabler. It depends on where you're using it.
Yes.
If you think ideas will come from it, then you're mistaken.
Yeah.
Because AI is it's a wrong nomenclature. It should be AD because it is artificial diligence. It can do all that.
Right.
But it cannot think randomly for a purpose which only a devious, demented mind can
Mind
do.
can, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, because actually for ad filmmaking, no, it's great fun. I'll tell you why. Because sometimes, you know, clients want to see exact references. Now, where do you find these? I thought,
Correct.
Like,
Exact
it
reference of
doesn't exist.
what's never been done before.
Yeah, of something that exactly,
See,
right?
because the problem is AI can learn only from that which has ever been published.
That's right.
Okay? But ideas need to be that which has never ever been
Yeah.
done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just scared of it.
You are?
I don't know. I mean, I
No,
feel
you don't need to be
insecure
scared
around-
of it.
I don't need to
it
be,
is-
but I am.
it is
Just
a
little
game
insecure
changer.
around it a little bit. Maybe learn a little bit more.
It is a game changer only as much as the PC was in the late 80s. Okay, if somebody had decided to call a PC super brain, everybody would have been scared.
So, see, the
People
end
are
game is
scared
what
because
scares
only
me,
the
not
word
the process
intelligence
so
has been
much.
used, but it is not intelligent.
I think it's too soon to say. Let's see what it
Yeah,
becomes.
it's true. It's too early.
It's just started.
You know, just to give one example, like there is this website called this software Suno.com. So there you can just like whatever jazz, funk, Latin, 1970, and it'll give you like 2-3 tracks, which honestly sound competent. You give it to a client, he'll be like, "Good, nice job," you know. But first 2 days I got super excited. But the third day I got super bored, you know, and
Yeah.
that made me question of why are we in this profession? We are in this profession, and any creative, not just ad filmmaking, you know, because it's kind of handmade, it's organic. So why would you so easily just jump into something which is just giving it to you and without half the soul?
Right.
So I don't. It'll only enable us to, like, you can use the same thing to present to the client. Okay, maybe we can go here, maybe we can go there, but that'll never be the final track.
And a lot of it may end up looking the same eventually.
Yeah.
Because everybody will have access to the same
Correct, yeah, yeah.
material.
Same material,
AI can
yeah.
learn from which has been published. It cannot learn from observation or from life experience.
Right.
Those are intangibles.
Right.
Okay, that is where
Yeah.
That's where we
your
come in.
ideas are.
It's like those in the writer's strike. Somebody held a placard. No, you can't. AI hasn't gone through childhood trauma.
Yeah.
That's a cool one. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you to each of you.
Thank you.
For doing this. I think it's such an amazing banter that we've had. We've sort of picked each other's minds to understand what, where we come from, and it's so important because we rarely get this opportunity. So thank you, Good Ads Matter, for making this happen.
Thank you.
And yeah, good luck to you guys, and I hope you do a lot more of this because we have some very, very eclectic, brilliant minds in advertising, and we haven't been heard. So please bring a lot more directors, producers, all kinds of people, DPs, which is a great thing that you all are doing. And yeah, thank you.
Superb,
Thank
superb.
you so
Thanks,
much.
Ishan.
Thank you so much. You're a fantastic moderator.